Shio, Shida ne lun e, Ale chuna li e. Ugun wi yu he, Shuda li, the guy ye shal don, dakodo Ani, Ika yi, Charaki, Ayetli, Udo tlon song. Tlani kula, Chi yon we. Haha. Yeah, man, hey, that yon we. That, yeah, we gonna get into that. You know what I'm saying? You in the dig, man, but yeah, so today it's, we finna get real spunky with this information. It's Six Fingers. Y'all know who it is. Today we getting our feet wet in that Cherokee, not just name, but the etiology. All right, how the name came about, right? Why certain people today go by the name Cherokee, and really, I'm really going deeper into the genealogy of the Cherokees. This is pre-colonial genealogy that I'm doing. All right. I might not be the best historian in all areas of every Cherokee history, but one area that I am astute in is pre-colonial Cherokee history, dealing with the tribal genealogy, right? A lot of people ignore that. They just want to discuss the colonial aspect, and that's cool, but you gotta go into the root, the basal history, in order to understand the family tree of Cherokee, and I'm still mastering this Cherokee language, right? Because, our old dialects, our old mountain dialects had rolling R's, all right? And a lot of the dialects that we speak is very relative to the geographic location. So people who tend to live in high mountain areas have rolling R's, right? All right. Yeah. So yeah, that's some more homework for you. But let's get into this Chalaki stuff. All right. You dig? So in my past video, I was going in on the Cherokee word, and at the last part of my last video, I actually went in on the Ongwe Hongwe, right? And how that is a cognate term, all right, that the Iroquois know themselves as. So, we say yon we, right? Yon we, ya, yon we. Is duplicated to express emphasis, but really it's explaining something different. It's actually how we articulate it like that and say it like that and repeat it and duplicate it is really discussing tribal matters. All right. So we're going to get into that too. So on page 15, right, what I went over this in the last video, but I'm going to do it again in this one because people have to really understand these terms and what they mean because we're identifying with them. All right. So we read at the bottom, the proper name by which the Cherokees call themselves is Yonwiya or Ani Yonwiya in the third person, signifying real people or principal people, a word closely related to Ongwe Hongwe or Ongwe Hongwe, the name by which the cognate Iroquois know themselves. And in my past video, I was basically saying that is technically a Iroquois identity when you just say it by itself like that. All right, so let's go deeper into this. Let's see. All right, so the next thing I'm gonna get into is, let's deal with the foundations first before we get deeper. All right, this is some Wikipedia, but there's a citation on it, but let's read it and then, let's get into it. A Cherokee language name for Cherokee people is Aninyonwiya, translating as principal people. Zalagi, that's how the Westerners say it. We don't say it like that. We say Jalagi, but Zalagi is the Cherokee word for the Cherokee language. Now that's key because that's differentiated from the actual people. The language is called Zalagi. The people are calling themselves Aniyanwiya. They reject the Cherokee term. Anyway, so let's continue to read. Many theories, though none proven, until you came across six fingers, me. Many theories, though none proven, abound about the origin of the name Cherokee. It may have originally been derived from one of the competitive tribes in the area. There we go. We have so much evidence that reinforces that. All right. And it's not really a theory when there's a lot of evidence that's backing it. Continue on reading. For instance, the Choctaw word Chalaki means people who live in the mountains. Now remember I said Chalaki. Chalaki means mountains. And here we have the Choctaw word, and they're defining it to mean people who live in the mountains. All right, continuing on. And Choctaw, Chiluk Ikbi, means people who live in the cave country. That mountain area was a cave country. All right, so let's move on to. We're going to go back into James Mooney, Myths of the Cherokee book, page 182. All right. And let's get into that Yonwi word again, right? Where I have underlined Yonwiya. This word is compounded from Yonwi, person, and Ya, real or principle. The assumption of superiority is much in evidence in Indian tribal names. This is the part where you got to pay close attention, because this is where it's tying into the Ongwe Hongwe Yonwi Yonwi. All right, let me read it again. The assumption of superiority is much in evidence in Indian tribal names. Thus, the Iroquois, Delawares, and Pawnee call themselves respectively Onwe Honwe, Lenni Lenape, or Jariksi, Jariks, all of which may be rendered men of men, men surpassing other men, or real men. So you hear the Lenni Lenape, all that name meaning the real people. You hear often people saying we the people, the real people. This is a competitive term of superiority among other tribes. You dig what I'm saying? This is because, remember, the Algonquins and Iroquois were warmongering tribes, so they were always in competition with one another, even though they're kin. You understand what I'm saying? So the Yonwi is a superiority term, all right, and it reflects its Algonquin Iroquois roots of their tribal warfare. A lot of people don't know that. We saying Ani Yonwi, and we don't even know that, right? And why people are saying we the people. And it's actually another history to that deals when the colonists came. All right. So let's read further down into Cherokee, right? Where I have underlined at the bottom, Cherokee, whence we get Cherokee. In the other dialects, the form is Cherokee. It is evidently foreign to the tribe. Wait, what? It is evidently foreign to the tribe. So we have Cherokee historians, right, admitting that the word Cherokee is foreign to the tribe. But I'm going to show you later in this video that it's not. The word Cherokee is Odala or Odala. Odala. That means mountain. I keep saying this, all right, because we were the mountain people. In other languages, we're associated with the mountains. So let's go into well, you know what? Listen, I also want to build on this, dealing with the Onwe Honwe, right? The Yonwi. This is a term they've been having, the Iroquois, since they settled on the St. Lawrence, when they had to battle the Renongwe Tawanka giants that came from the north. You understand what I'm saying? And David Cusick documents this in 1828 in his book, and where he calls them the Ingwe people. You see? And then they got the little myth dealing with where people became giants and all that other stuff, and how they battled them. So yeah, so What's interesting is, again, the term Yon-We, right? And its association with the Iroquois, aka the Hurons, the Lenape, right? Now, Mooney goes in further in his book, right, where he goes into where he says he documents says Holly in his paper on Indian migrations, the constant tradition of the Iroquois represents their ancestors as immigrants from the region north of the Great Lakes, where they dwelt in early times with their Huron brethren. All right, there's a reason why I'm making a case tying them into the Wendots, the Hurons, and the Lenape, right? All right, because he basically goes in documenting that they are the same people. So look, at the bottom it says this: the striking fact has become evident that the course of migration of the Huron-Cherokee family. Look at how he lumped them together. He called them the Huron-Cherokee family, right? Because the people you see today claiming Cherokees, all right, they're the Huron bloodline of the Cherokees. Again, they are the Huron, the Iroquois Huron blood of the Cherokee. So let me continue reading. It is evident that the course of migration of the Huron-Cherokee family has been from the northeast to the southwest. That is, from eastern Canada on the lower St. Lawrence to the mountains of northern Alabama. All right. So, this Huron stuff is not far-fetched. Why? Because they're related to the Lenape. Well, how so? First, let's deal with the Cherokees, right? According to Heckerwelder, Indians Nations, page 88, it says this. This is about a band of Cherokees called Lenape Indians, their grandfather. And I'm pretty sure people have other Cherokee historians or historians have came across this before, and they use this to try to, infer ancestry on the Cherokees. And it's true. All right. But let me read. When the Lenape assumed the office of peacemaker, this feud ceased and was not renewed until the general turmoil of the French Indian War 1750 through 60. After this closed in 1768, the Cherokee sought a effected and renewal of their peaceful relations with the Delawares, and in 1779 they even sent deputation of condolence to their grandfather, the Lenape, on the death of the head chief White Eyes. So here we have Cherokees documenting, all right, saying that the Lenape is their grandfathers, right? Now, tie all this into the other videos I made where I went into the Lenapes, how they came across the Alleghenies, and the Hurons was there with them. And then, in the other video, I went into the Hurons and how they battled the Iroquois. But, they both, the Hurons, Mingoes, and Lenape all teamed up on the Allegheny because we was just too thick out here, man. You dig? Like, we had the walls set up, all the weapons. We was giants. They couldn't see us about nothing, right? So, the Cherokees claim, right, the Huron people, but first they claim the Lenape. I'm jumping ahead of myself. They claim the Lenape as their grandfathers. So this is a genealogy right here of the Cherokees, right? Now let's go deeper into the Hurons, right? Because I jumped ahead of myself, but saying that the Huron Wendots or whatever with the Lenape. But so the Cherokees descend from the Lenape. Well, who did the Lenapes descend from? So what I'm about to read right here is just a snippet of what I'm gonna go into a whole nother video. I'm gonna make a whole nother video dealing with the Huron version from what they documented and when they fought us, and how it all ties into why we call the Cave people, right? So here we read on page 121, according to the Wendat tradition, in this book dealing with the mythology of the Wendat people. The Wendots called the Delawares his nephew, and the Delawares calls the Wendat his uncle. The Wendat had as a tribe no other nephew than the Delaware, and the Delawares had no other uncle than the Wendats. So, again, so here's we're growing a family tree now, dealing with the Hurons, right? I mean, dealing with the Cherokees. They are a part of the Lenape family, and the Lenape come from the Huron family. See, this is crazy, but it's the actual history. Um, so, you know, again, you know, all this ties back into the Chalaki because after they won the war, right, and teamed up, they took a lot of us as war captives. Our fate was with them after we lived with them and they lived with us. And then over time, right, they began to adopt other aspects of our culture, our red paint, black paint, all right, and our certain traditions we had. And since they naturally spoke their language, that was their mother tongue, and they came across our mound builder language, our Cherokee language, which lexicon is completely different than the Iroquois language. They began to corrupt the language and Huronize it. So the Cherokee language that's spoken today is a mound builder language. That's really a language isolate, which I'm going to demonstrate in another video going deeper into the language. Cherokee language is a language isolate. Cherokee language is not an Iroquoian language. I'm going to say it again. The Cherokee language is not an Iroquoian language. It's not an Iroquois language. It's not. I don't care what Wikipedia says. I don't care what no other people say. It's about demonstrating this. The parts of the Cherokee language has Huron grammar, but the language itself is not Iroquois. It don't even fit into the family. All right. So I'm gonna go on in another video, a part 2 of this, and we're gonna go deeper into the Zalagi and how the name is documented, right? And various sources, and we're gonna get into the root meaning of Zalagi or Talagewi, Chalaki. All right. With that being said, do da go huh e. Di dioli huh? Dungalanish gun.